Hello friends and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're going to make easy homemade hush puppies. So everything you see on my counter is what we're going to use to make these. It's really not a lot involved in it, but this has such an amazing flavor, and it's like hush puppies are something I always enjoyed eating, and I like getting them from a good restaurant, but unfortunately these days there's not really a great place around where I live to get them. So you know what, when you can't find it at a restaurant, you resort to making it at home. But there's one wonderful thing about this: they are so less expensive to make at home than you would imagine. They really don't have that much in them, so really you can make these whenever you want. If you're having shrimp, fish, whatever, whenever you want to have them, because they're great just to snack on. Now what you see in front of you is a wire rack on top of a baking pan. The thing is, I'm using this to actually drain them on when I'm done, because if you take them out of cooking them, sit them on a paper towel, all that oil is going to collect in the bottom and make a soggy bottom version of a hush puppy. You really don't want the soggy in the bottom, but if you put it on this, the oil will drain down, the hush puppy will stay solid and crunchy the way it's supposed to be on the outside, and you don't have to worry about having all that oil when you bite into it, which makes it kind of like greasy and nasty. This way is a lot better. So now we're going to take about 1/4 of a cup of onion, and we're going to cut this up to where we're going to really mince it fine to where it really isn't big pieces at all, because we don't want huge pieces of this going into the hush puppy mix, because one, you want this to cook up really well, but two, you don't want to bite into large pieces of onion because it's not usually the way it's done. So what I'm saying here is take your onion, chop it up, then go over it again. Chop it up and go over it again until you get these things like really minced into teeny tiny little pieces where they're a lot more manageable and they're going to mix into your mix a lot better. And that's what we're looking for here. And it only takes maybe like 3 runs, 4 runs over top of that onion to actually make it really fine. And that's what we really want it to be, because we don't want really large hunks of this. So go ahead, cut this up, and once we're done, we're going to set it to the side for just a moment. But as you can see, mine is chopped up really fine, and that's what I wanted to see in this. So go ahead and set that aside, and we're going to start mixing up some ingredients here. So we're starting out with 3/4 of a cup of cornmeal, 4 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Now once this is in the bowl, I'm going to mix it up because I want the two really mixed together. Because one thing I like about doing this is like to go through every time I add something and mix a little bit more, so that way we know that all these ingredients are distributed. So after this, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and then mix again. And then once we get that incorporated, we're going to bring in at least 1.5 tablespoons of sugar. Mix it again. Then after this, we're going to add a teaspoon of salt. And you guessed it, mix it again. Because the best thing about it is when you do this, you're going to get everything all mixed together where there's not going to be too much of one thing in one place, like the salt or the sugar. You want it really distributed through all of this. And once we get that in there, we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of Creole seasoning. Mix it. And then after this, we're going to add at least a tablespoon of parsley. Now, if you don't like the taste of parsley, you can dial that back a little bit. But we're going to put in at least the tablespoon for this version. And mix it up again. So that's all of the dry stuff that's going into this. So once this is completely mixed up, we're going to actually move on to adding some wet stuff to it. So we're going to add in 1 large egg, and then we're going to break this up to make sure that it's all in there. So we're going to whisk this through. Then we are going to add in our 1/4 of a cup of minced onion. And once we get that in there, we have 6 tablespoons of milk. And we're going to mix that in. So once that's all there, just go ahead and whisk it and get it all combined together. Now you really need to make sure that everything is distributed really well and get that milk completely through this. So, you know, you're going to do this for about a minute just to make sure everything is in there. And if you're using a whisk and it gets stuck on the inside, just tap it on the side of the bowl. It'll fall back out, and just go ahead and mix some more. But once this is done, we want to let it sit for 10 minutes before we use it. That way it's going to have time for everything to just work together, and it's going to be ready for us when we're ready to actually get ready to cook this. But we're going to get ready in a second to find some oil, and you're going to need some kind of a medium-sized pan to cook this in. Like, you know, if you had like a medium pot or actually even a medium-sized skillet, which it works for this, because as long as you can put like 1 inch to 2 inches of oil in it, you're good to go. So, and we need to get this heated up. So your oil is going to have to reach at least 360 degrees. So once you got 360 on your thermometer, go ahead and start rolling out the balls of dough and put them in here, so that way you can actually make your hush puppies. And don't overcrowd, because if you do, they're not going to cook evenly. So I was doing mine basically maybe like 4 at a time. It's just easier to work that way, and you can roll these around, because you want to make sure that they actually get cooked on all sides. So it's going to take 2 to 3 minutes, but you want to roll these around while they're in there and get them rolled to where if there's a part that's browner on the bottom, turn it up to the top, because we don't want these to go really dark, because the darker it gets, the harder the outside is, and sometimes that gets a little unpleasant to eat. So roll them around and get them ready. So as you're moving them around, you can see them going golden brown on the outside. Does not take a long time for this to cook, so you really have to pay attention to it, so don't walk away from it. So once these are rolled around enough until they get really, really brown, we're going to get ready to remove them and bring in the next batch. But one thing you need to remember, when one batch comes out, give it about a minute or so before you put the next one in there, because we want the oil to heat back up again. So once you think you've gotten to a point where these ones from the original batch are brown enough, start to take them out. But I suggest holding them above the oil for a second when you're bringing them out, just to let some of that oil drip out of it before you go put it on the rack. So that way at least you reclaim some of the oil that you brought out. So mine right here are about to the point where they're ready to go out. So I'm going to take them out one at a time, let that oil drip, put it to the side, and then I'm going to put some more in. Now, with this mix that we just made, there's enough there. If you're doing smaller ones, you're going to get about 10 of these. If you're doing a little bit larger like I did, you're going to get about 8. And that way, that's plenty for, like, if you're feeding like 3-4 people, that's good. So go ahead and add in your next batch and let them cook up, and we're going to repeat the same process as we did before. Get them in, roll them around, and make sure they brown properly. And which, the good thing about this is it doesn't take a long time to do this, but you do need to serve these hot, because once they cool down, they lose a little bit of their impact. But also, if you want to save some of these in the fridge and reheat them another day, you can literally put them in the fridge for about 5 days and they're still good to eat. You can actually microwave these or warm them however you wish to do it. So go ahead, as this last batch is cooking, flip them around until you get really brown, and then we're going to bring them out just like we did the first batch, and you're going to have quite a few hush puppies to go with the dinner. The good thing is, it takes no long time to fix these, but you need to actually have something done ahead of time that you're going to pair this with. So if you wanted to make fish, shrimp, whatever, just make sure that you time it. So these are going to come out at a time where they're really hot to go with your food. With mine, I made it with shrimp, which was really wonderful because my shrimp was finishing just about the time these were. Because as you see, you can do this here in just a matter of minutes, and this is what mine looked like on my plate. And this had the most amazing taste from the shrimp, the hush puppies, and everything together. It was just the greatest thing. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out the Southern Mountain Kitchen website, where you can get a free recipe, check out the cookbooks available from the Southern Mountain Kitchen, and if you'd like to, you could order a cookbook at a discounted price, cheaper than Amazon, with shipping that is also cheaper than Amazon. So if you get a chance, check it out, and I hope you have a great day.